Today's going to be an update video on the 8-passenger situation. Now, I suggest that if you haven't seen anything on this, you go back and watch a video that I made on this that'll explain everything. But there's been some updates on the case that we're going to talk about, a dispatch call that has been released, and some people have came forward that have taken the Connections program that Jody and Ruby were teaching to help teach parents how to teach and discipline their kids. Every time I say that, I cringe a little bit on the inside because it's like nightmare fuel to think that these people were teaching other people how to discipline their kids. Like, what? The first thing I'd like to check out is the dispatch call. Let's take a look. Now, throughout this dispatch call, I will be skipping some parts because there is a lot of dead spots and a lot of police code.
He said a 12-year-old male showed up with tape around his legs Thursday asking for help, said he was afraid asking for police. I'll keep looking into that. The RP said he left through the porch of the neighbor's house. 10-4, break 12x11 and 17, just 10-14. The male does have duct tape around each ankle. He's not telling the RP why. And said that there's sores around his wrists and ankles. He's becoming, or correction, the RP is becoming emotional regarding the child's health. I'm going to go ahead and have medical stage on this one. 12x11, 12x14, or 17, sorry. The RP said that he left from a neighbor's Jody Hildebrand in Ivan's 54-year-old female. Not sure if they're related. When asking the RP's parents info, he said his mom is Ruby Frankie, unknown where she lives. 17, I do have a Ruby Frankie spelling with an E on the end of Frankie address out of Springville. Only involvement was a traffic offense a couple of days ago. He's also saying that there's two of his sisters are back at the home as well.
Hey, LT, there's a panic room inside the garage. Downstairs underneath the garage. Yeah, he says it's downstairs and it's underneath one of the garages, and he's calling it a safe room. He said something about Fort Knox, so I don't know if it has a Fort Knox door or safe on it, but that's what he's talking about.
10-4, we've got it, but we can't get into it.
My guess is that would be where they're at. He says it's a large room, it's a panic room.
This one says Liberty Safe Company. It's got a big wheel on the front.
I'm at the front door.
On this case that we're working, we have the custodial parent of the child in the ER. She just came to our PD and then she took off when we said cops will talk to her in a second. So we're hoping maybe someone can go to the cop at the ER can restrict access from her to her kids. That's something you can relay to them. Her name is Ruby and her name should be in CAD comments.
So from the sounds of it, the caller that made the call was getting emotional, which I would be too if a kid knocked on my door looking the way that this one is described to look. And the fact that there is a safe room, a panic room, it sounds like a dungeon where she kept these kids to do these evil things to. It's very sickening, and it's clear that Jody and Ruby are delusional, sick. Something is wrong with them. They're evil. It's crazy. They literally have a room to trap these children in. And it had a Fort Knox door on it, which if you need a visual aid for this, Fort Knox doors look like this. It's literally a safe door. So from the sounds of it, it sounds like she kept these kids literally in a safe room where you like keep valuable things like money and stuff like that. It's not a place where you keep children and lock them in there. What kind of person does that? This whole thing just keeps getting worse and worse, and it's something that comes straight out of a horror movie, really. Now, I came across a post on Facebook where a man was talking about his experience with Jody, who was running the Connections YouTube channel. And at the time, she was actually a marriage counselor. And he had this to say about it. Now, this man said he was recommended to take marriage counseling, so his bishop told him to go to Jody Hildebrand. And this is some of what he said happened. Jody Hildebrand was deeply embedded in the Mormon church with some leadership, and was the main cause of the divorce with my ex-wife. She went illegally around spreading false information to my bishop, to the BUY Honor Code office, and my civil divorce proceedings about me, and many more. She had secret meetings with high-up Mormon leaders who suppressed the child abuse in BSA in the southeast Idaho. This charismatic lady basically convinced many people that I was super dangerous in response to me refusing the $2,000 a month counseling. What the heck, dude? Holy crap. And asking questions in therapy group sessions that increasingly broke the cult. She totally violated the doctor-patient privacy rules and simultaneously started having a completely inappropriate relationship with my ex-wife. And she took huge amounts of money from us. DOPL charged her for having a dual relationship with my ex-wife, but it was too late. The damage was done. When my attorney subpoenaed her, she had no records as a therapist, and I was dangerous, so all the lies she made up about me as the patient didn't only break privacy, but were unprofessional. Today at like 5 a.m., I woke up and read the news. I wasn't shocked, and I can't tell you the flood of emotions I've had today seeing this woman has been arrested for ACB along with Ruby Frank from 8 passengers. I never got vindication for the damage and abuse this woman did in my life. I never thought I would get vindication in this life, but now all these public servants and church servants who hurt me under this woman's lies and deception will realize they were on the wrong side. Oh my God. They followed a truly violent cult leader instead of me. I always told the truth no matter how ugly or what I was up against. Holy crap. So that just gives you a small insight of how they were also ruining people's lives. Literally ruining people's lives. Can you imagine living a life where everybody thinks you're this thing, but you're not? Having to listen to the lies and there's nothing you can do about it. These are evil people. Another person had this to say about Jody. It was only a matter of time before you'd be exposed, Jody Hildebrandt. I knew from the moment I met you something was incredibly off with you, something dark and haunting. You played a significant role in ruining the relationships of some of my loved ones with your distortion counseling. You brought a tremendous amount of pain to these families, including mine. I hope this situation teaches you the lesson you've been needing and allows you the time to get counseling yourself to find peace moving forward. No more pain for you or your clients. Now, I do want to say that within these posts here that they made on these specific posts that I didn't see any proof. I just saw, people talking about their experience. So it is alleged, and until more information comes out, maybe in time there will be some evidence that comes forward that proves that what these people are saying is truthful. But if it is true, that's very, very scary. And we still really don't know the connections the husband, Kevin Frank, has with all of this. He could have been doing things just as bad because they did hold the same beliefs, Ruby and Kevin. They were on many vlogs talking about doing the same type of discipline styles, and they were both criticized for it. But he doesn't live with Ruby at the moment, and he's been trying to gain custody of the kids. But who's to say they would have been any safer with him? Now, the daughter Sherry released a Instagram post. It reads, "Connections and Moms of Truth needs to go. Please report their Instagram accounts and encourage everybody to unfollow them. They do not deserve such a large audience." And it looks like their Moms of Truth account is still up on Instagram with 335,000 followers. That's a pretty good bit of followers for some evil people. That's scary to think that this many people were taking advice from them. Holy crap, dude. But as for the Connections YouTube channel, I do believe it has been deleted, I think by YouTube. It's no longer there, which is good. But they do seem to have a private Facebook group called Moms of Truth with Jody and Ruby, as well as a Connections Facebook group, which the last post on there was August 28th. And in case you didn't know, they have a website too. And they were selling everything from workbooks to DVDs, bundles. You can even get training that takes self-improvement to a whole new level. Oh man, start empowering your life with these training options. For $21 a month, you can ruin your life. $75 a week for 3 months, or $181 a session. One-on-one training. They had workbooks on anger, fear, triggers, addiction cycle, boundaries, and and the list goes on. And I feel bad for anyone that was taken advantage of by Jody and Ruby, because it's clear that they should not be helping anybody with anything at all. They need the help. They need all the help they can get. Now, according to the reports, it looks like they've both been charged with 6 counts of ACA. As you can see here, it's 1, 2, 3, and then the next page 4, 5, 6. Now that was Ruby. And here we have Jody, who also has 6 charges. And some of the neighbors were talked to about this whole thing, and this is what they had to say. One of the neighbors said, everyone is just breathing a collective sigh of relief because we thought they were going to come out of that house with body bags. Neighbors said Frankie would insert herself into neighbors' lives, with one neighbor citing an instance in which Frankie gave a sermon-like lecture over what she called inappropriate posters of women posing in shorts that were displayed in a garage. Neighbors also accused Frank of withholding food as a punishment for her children, a behavior that was also shared on her YouTube channel. They also claimed that after her husband was out of the home, Frank would leave the house for weeks at a time with the children inside. I remember that she took away their Christmas one year, the male neighbor said, and she would say things like they're not repenting correctly, which is a Mormon term for they're sinning. Just complete insanity. The male neighbor recalled how Frank's youngest daughter, Eve, who is approximately 10 years old, would wander the neighborhood while her mother was away for prolonged periods after she kicked Kevin Frank out of the house. So she was just leaving the house, leaving those kids there all by themselves, lonely, not knowing what to do, just wandering around the neighborhood. How scary would that be when you're so young, just being like, what do I do? Like, am I just going to eat like Pop-Tarts the whole time? Like, I don't even know how to make food. I'm 6 years old. What am I going to do, you know? Or in the case of this article, 10 years old. Eve would look for companions in the community, the neighbors said. The neighbors said it did not seem like she was attending school, so she wasn't even in school too. How would she get to school if she, can't drive and doesn't even really know how to like prepare for these things? She's 10 years old. But according to everything I've been learning about Ruby, she thinks that this 10-year-old, these kids are independent and they can do everything themselves. That's the way it looks to me. The Nebo School District, which represents that Springville area, did not immediately return a request for comment. Isn't that interesting? Why didn't the school report this? I don't know the laws on these things, but I feel like a school should be reporting when a child doesn't show up to school, right? That's a thing, right? If not, it needs to be a thing because circumstances like this could occur if the parent's not checking in, letting them know, especially if they're enrolled in that school, right? She would just knock on your door and say, hi, can your kids play? He recalled. And we're like, well, they're at school. They won't be home for 3 or 4 hours. And she'd be like, I'll wait. He added, she's like a lost child. A female neighbor said she and others in the community had tried to get authorities to intervene for at least a year. The female neighbor said she thought things were bad for the children, but says she was deeply upset after learning about the conditions the children were found in. I'm really angry because I spoke up. Other people spoke up. She said, and nothing happened. The female neighbor said she and others in the neighborhood asked the Utah Division of Child and Family Services to intervene multiple times. She made an initial call to CPS around September 2022. Wow. It took that long for something to be done, and that wouldn't have even happened if one of the kids didn't escape. I want those kids to know that the community loves them and wants them to be safe, she said tearfully. If people knew the amount of tears and time spent talking with law enforcement and CPS over the last year, I want people to understand that. And I want those kids to know that because I think they thought they were abandoned. Wow, what a scary, scary feeling. What a sad thing to happen to. It sends chills all throughout my body, honestly. And given all that context and everything we know now, I want you to see what Ruby said.
A year ago, my daughter was saying her prayers. Eve, she was 6 years old at the time. And she was saying her prayers and she said the cutest thing. I thought it was so cute. And I started laughing. She said, "Dear Heavenly Father, please help me to survive." And I thought it was so cute and it just took me off guard and I kind of giggled a little. That was an experience for her and she melted. She melted. She was angry and she started crying.
She thought it was funny that her child was praying, literally praying for help because of how bad things were for her. She thought that was funny. I can't even comprehend this. She's so mentally unhealthy, delusional, evil. It's just, there's so many things going on here. And it makes me very, very angry that this went on for this long even. This is definitely one of the worst stories I've covered that just keeps getting worse and worse. And that's all I have for it right now. If there is more stuff that comes out, I'll be sure to update you. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you subscribe, leave a like on the video, and leave a comment down below on what you think about this whole situation. It's a mess. It's a nightmare. And my prayers go out to these kids. I'll see you in the next video.